sharing with the audience your background, and then let's get into your ideas of why you think we shouldn't be concerned with the population growing the way that it is. Or
right.
Maybe we should be, but go ahead.
I think that it all started with growing up under communism.
Well, if you can get closer to the mic. Yeah.
Absolutely. So growing up under communism, then coming to the capitalist West and realizing that, different regimes and different countries have different sets of political and economic arrangements. And so I was always interested in what makes countries rich and what makes countries poor. And then given I only have 30 seconds, what happened then was that I realized that there's this new growing green religion, which talks about human beings as being, basically a cancer on the planet. And I believe in the exact opposite. I think that the more people we have, provided that they are free, so they can exercise their minds, their thinking, can invest in the market, benefit from it, profit from it, that actually having more people in the world is better because we create more economic growth and more prosperity for everyone.
That's interesting you're saying that. So I know I said 30 seconds. I want you to feel more comfortable going because it is a long-form podcast. Yeah. But, so for me, being where I grew up and where I'm at now, it's very important for us to know, like it was always wanting to find out how does one become rich? Can everybody become rich? What are the principles that help somebody become rich? So for you, coming from the Czech background, when I lived in Germany, there was a lot of folks from Czechoslovakia in '89 that were escaping. A family that was very close to me, the Staff family, Jan and Katarina Staff, the specifically family that I remember, and they would tell me stories about what it was like there. So for you, what conditions and climate helps people become rich and the same as helps some people become poor?
Well, not everybody can become wealthy. Everybody can become successful. You can only work with whatever God-given talents / DNA you have. But the first prerequisite for having at least a shot at being successful and rich is that you have to live in a country where you have basically the freedom, both political and economic freedom. What do I mean by political? Freedom of speech, for example, is incredibly important. To be able to interact with people like you, exchanging ideas, learning from each other, maybe innovating something together, then applying those ideas in the marketplace, and if it works, then of course profiting. Now, that only works under some form of a free market system. If you are in North Korea, it doesn't really matter what great ideas you have. You cannot implement them. First, you cannot vocalize them because you have a complete ban on free speech, but also you cannot really implement them in practice. There is no market where you can succeed with your ideas or your innovations. So I would say that free market over time has proven to be the best way in order to generate economic growth. And it's not just capitalism in the way that we understand it over the last 300 years, but even if you look at the past, it's localities that have allowed for greater openness, where the government took its boot off the necks of ordinary people, where people were able to flourish and become rich. That includes Song China in 12th century AD, an incredibly sophisticated and wealthy societies. And then when the Ming come in, basically they have 800 years of stagnation simply because the government changes and they change the political and economic ideas and institutions that they have. Similarly in, say for example, in ancient Rome, 2nd century, very high level of stability, which then gets replaced by obviously the collapse of the Roman Empire and Dark Ages. So you can have these efflorescences of economic growth, but they usually peter out because politics change and whatever. And my big concern about the United States right now is that I would like us not to be one of those countries where we have a sort of a 200-year period of high economic growth and then suddenly everything stops and we have stagnation for the next 500 years.
If you believe the future looks bright, order your Future Looks Bright hat today.